You don't avoid asking for help because you're strong. You avoid it because somewhere in your life, needing someone became unsafe. And now your brain would rather let you struggle quietly than risk being disappointed again. If depending on others makes you uncomfortable, if doing everything alone feels safer, even when you're exhausted, this video is for you. Before we talk about asking for help, we need to talk about safety, because for you, this isn't really about pride, ego, or wanting to look capable. It's about safety. Somewhere along the way, your mind learned that depending on others comes with risk. And once that lesson is learned, it doesn't disappear just because your life looks more stable now. You may not consciously believe that people can't be trusted. You may even think of yourself as someone who values connection. But when you imagine asking for help, something inside you tightens. Your body reacts before your thoughts do, and almost automatically, you decide you'll handle it on your own. Not because you want to prove anything, but because it feels safer that way. If you look closely, you'll probably notice that this pattern has been with you for a long time. You're the person who figures things out. You don't like asking for favors. You don't want to inconvenience anyone. When something feels heavy, your instinct isn't to reach out, it's to push through. And most of the time, you do push through. From the outside, this looks like strength. It looks like competence. It looks like emotional maturity. People may describe you as reliable, grounded, or strong. But inside, it often feels very different. It feels like carrying responsibility that never fully leaves your body. It feels like always being the one who manages, even when you're tired. It feels like there's no real place to rest. Over time, this becomes so normal that you stop questioning it. Asking for help doesn't feel like a choice you're rejecting. It simply doesn't register as an option. Your mind skips it entirely and goes straight to, "I'll deal with it myself." What you're experiencing isn't just independence, it's hyper-independence. Healthy independence means you trust yourself while also trusting others. You can stand on your own, but you don't feel threatened by support. Hyper-independence is different. It's the belief that relying on others is unsafe, unpredictable, or emotionally costly. It's the feeling that if you don't do everything yourself, something bad might happen. Hyper-independence isn't a personality trait. It's not something you were born with. It's a learned survival response. Most people who struggle to ask for help didn't choose this pattern. They adapted into it. At some point in their life, help wasn't available in the way they needed it. Or it came with conditions, or it was inconsistent, or it led to disappointment instead of relief. Maybe you grew up in an environment where adults were overwhelmed, emotionally unavailable, or unreliable. Maybe you learned early that asking for help didn't change anything, or worse, that it made things harder. Maybe vulnerability was met with criticism, dismissal, or silence. Sometimes the lessons were obvious, sometimes they were subtle, being praised for being easy, low maintenance, or mature for your age, being told not to complain, learning that emotions made others uncomfortable, learning that needing support came with judgment. Slowly, your nervous system learned an important rule: relying on yourself is safer than relying on others. And once that rule is formed, your system organizes your behavior around it. That's why asking for help doesn't just feel awkward, it feels uncomfortable in your body. Your chest tightens, your stomach drops, your thoughts start justifying why you don't really need help anyway. This isn't weakness, this is conditioning. For someone who learned safety through self-reliance, vulnerability feels like exposure. Asking for help means letting someone see you when you're uncertain, tired, or unsure. And if being seen like that once led to pain, your body remembers it, even if your present life looks very different. Hyperindependence is held together by beliefs that sound reasonable. Beliefs like, "I should be able to handle this," or "I don't want to be a burden," or "other people have it worse." Sometimes it's, "I don't trust people to show up the way I need," or "It's easier to just do it myself than explain." These beliefs don't feel emotional, they feel practical, responsible. But responsibility shaped by fear still leads to isolation. Doing everything alone gives you control. You control the pace, you control the outcome, you control how much of yourself is visible. Control feels calming when unpredictability once hurt you. It feels like stability. It feels like protection. But control has a hidden cost. When you never let yourself rely on anyone, stress has nowhere to go. It stays in your body. You keep functioning, but you don't feel supported. You keep moving, but you don't feel held. Over time, burnout becomes familiar. Emotional exhaustion becomes your baseline. You might notice that you're rarely fully relaxed even during rest. Your mind stays slightly alert, slightly prepared. That's because hyperindependence keeps your nervous system in a quiet state of vigilance. There's also a deeper fear many people don't talk about. Sometimes the fear isn't that people won't help you. Sometimes the fear is what happens if they do. If someone truly supports you, you would have to receive. You would have to let go of control, even briefly. You would have to accept care without earning it through suffering. And for someone who learned that safety comes from self-reliance, receiving can feel unfamiliar and unsettling. You might notice yourself minimizing your needs even when someone offers help. You might say you're fine when you're not. Not because you're dishonest, but because accepting support feels foreign. Society often rewards this pattern. People admire those who don't complain, who handle pressure quietly, who stay functional no matter what. You may have been trusted more, relied on more, and praised more because of this. That praise can make it harder to question whether this way of living is costing you something. And the cost does show up eventually. You might feel lonely even in close relationships. You might feel resentful even though you never ask for support. You might feel unseen, not because people don't care, but because you rarely show where you need care. None of this means something is wrong with you. It means you adapted intelligently. Hyperindependence once kept you safe. But what keeps you safe in one phase of life can limit you in another. Healing from hyperindependence doesn't mean becoming dependent or losing your autonomy. It means creating balance. It means learning that independence and connection can exist together. The first step is awareness, simply noticing when your instinct is to handle everything alone. Not judging it, just noticing it. When you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask yourself whether you truly need to carry this alone or whether this is an old survival habit stepping in automatically. The next step is starting small. You don't need to share your deepest struggles right away. You can begin by asking for help in low-risk ways. Practical help. Clarification. Support that doesn't feel emotionally exposing. Let your nervous system experience moments where asking doesn't lead to harm. Expect discomfort. Asking for help will feel unnatural at first. You might feel exposed. You might feel guilty. You might want to immediately downplay your needs. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means your system is learning something new. Discomfort is not danger. It's unfamiliarity. Another important part of healing is redefining strength. Strength is not the absence of need. Strength is honesty about your limits. Strength is allowing yourself to be supported without turning it into a weakness or a debt. You don't lose independence by accepting help. You gain sustainability. It also matters who you ask. Not everyone deserves access to your vulnerability. Learning to ask for help includes learning to choose safe people. People who listen without judgment. People who respect boundaries. People who don't make you feel small for needing support. Support doesn't have to come from one person. You're allowed to spread your needs across different relationships. You don't have to rely completely on anyone to be supported by many. One of the most important shifts is letting go of old survival rules. At some point in your life, hyper-independence protected you. It helped you cope when support wasn't available. But survival strategies don't have to become permanent identities. You're allowed to update old rules. You're allowed to say, "This helped me then, but I don't need it in the same way now." Instead of asking, "Why can't I ask for help?" Try asking, "What did I learn that made me believe I shouldn't?" That question replaces self-criticism with understanding. Healing doesn't happen all at once. It happens in moments. In choosing to speak up a little sooner. In allowing someone to help without immediately pushing them away. In noticing that you don't have to earn care by being exhausted first. You were never meant to carry everything alone. You were meant to be capable and supported, independent and connected, strong and allowed to rest. Asking for help doesn't take your power away. It gives some of it back. And each time you let yourself receive support, you teach your nervous system a new truth. That you are allowed to need. That support is not a threat. That strength does not mean isolation. And slowly, the world becomes lighter to carry.